David, pleasure to meet you today. My name's Tyler Whitmore,
Thanks,
the ReelTok Podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat this morning. And to add to the spooky vibes of this interview, I'm based in Phoenix right now. We're under a partial eclipse, nearing its peak, so I think it kind of sets the stage perfectly today for our discussion on Late Night with the Devil. How have you been doing today?
I'm great. Ours starts I'm in Toronto, and we're going to get hit with the eclipse here in like an hour. And I am going to be doing press all day. So I plan to just take my computer outside and put on my eclipse glasses and hopefully cast some spells and create some magic. Who knows? Maybe a little tiny Venus flytrap will appear out of nowhere right in front of me. And I'll all of a sudden have my own man-eating plant. I don't know.
Well, as long as you have those glasses on, then you should be set. You should be
Should be
set.
fine. Yeah. Don't be like one of those idiots who looks right at the sun in the middle of an eclipse.
First off, I just want to say congratulations on the release of Late Night with the Devil. I had a blast with this film, that third act especially. Such a cleverly executed thrill ride, and I thought your performance throughout was just completely magnetic. Of course, you're playing Jack Delroy, a late night talk show host, competing with Johnny Carson for ratings, trying to put on the show of a lifetime, and really pushing things to the extreme without spoiling anything to try and save your career. Now, you've said to prepare for this role, you spent literally hundreds of hours watching footage of talk show hosts, particularly Don Lane. But were there any films you specifically watched and studied in preparation for the role of Jack Delroy? Or was it really just all real life talk show hosts?
Right. The 99% of it was real life talk show hosts for sure. But then I watched movies when I was thinking about the energy of the film and the kind of tone that I knew that Colin and Cameron wanted to create. Watched a lot of the old early Cronenberg films, stuff like Scanners and Videodrome. I watched Network. I watched Rosemary's Baby. I watched some John Cassavetes films, Killing of a Chinese Bookie. I thought about just kind of that spirit of that time period and the energy that you'd want to create to try and manifest something that feels authentic, while at the same time is entertaining enough for an audience to want to sit and watch, the movie. And I thought about I had just recently watched King of Comedy, a Martin Scorsese film, and I spent some time kind of living in that space. So yeah, definitely got a lot of great ideas and suggestions from Colin and Cameron. That was where the whole Don Lane thing came about, because I had never heard of Don Lane. I mean, I had actually seen interviews of his, I just didn't know his name before. But when they introduced me to him and his work, I was like, oh, this is perfect. This guy is exactly the kind of, Jack Delroy inspiration that I need.
Well, I know Kevin Smith nailed it on the head. You said two of those films you watched in preparation. Rosemary's Baby meets Network is how he described this movie. I think that's a very correct and astute comparison.
What an amazing endorsement too. I love Kevin so much, and he is such a student of film, and he loves movies so much. So the fact that he said those things about our movie was like, it was incredible. It just made me so happy.
I mean, those are two films that are just of the highest praise to be able to compare Late Night with the Devil to. And I think it is a very accurate comparison. Back when I started talking about movies on TikTok, at least about 2 years ago, one of the first videos I ever made was supporting actors who immediately make the film 10 times better every time they show up. And you were the first name that came to mind, of course. But now with Late Night with the Devil, you get the opportunity
Thanks,
to be
Tyler. Thank you. You're so awesome, man. Thank you so much.
I mean, every time you're in a supporting role, you just absolutely knock it out of the park. But now with Late Night with the Devil, you get the opportunity to be that front and center lead man. How is your mindset different entering a film like this, knowing you have to set the tone, set the energy, lead the film, as opposed to movies like Prisoners of the Dark Knight, where you might only have a few minutes of time to make that impact?
There's this wonderful reality when you're a supporting character actor in a film like Prisoners or The Dark Knight or Ant-Man, any of the films that I've mostly gotten to participate in, where I come in and my character is generally a conduit of some kind of energetic shift that is necessary for the protagonist. So I get to come in and be like a slingshot that propels the protagonist's story forward, or sometimes an obstacle that the protagonist is going to have to overcome to get to where they're going. With Jack, I felt like it was necessary for me to be the slingshot for every single person I was interacting with. Like, all these different people are coming into my life, and I'm feeding off of their energy, and I'm trying to use them to help me save the legacy of my, dead wife, the legacy of my show, the jobs of these hundreds of people who count on me every day. And so it was almost like doing the work the way I would normally do the work, except instead of propelling one person's story forward, I was really like allowing every person that I interacted with to let me try and propel them forward in their journeys, which ultimately then moved my character down into the depths of the hell that he had to go through.
I mean, I hope to see more leading role performances like this, because you were just so magnetic, and the whole feel of the set, the 70s, the vibe, everything from the set design to your performance to the costumes everyone was wearing. Just something about this just drew you in so much. And then that's what really made that third act really make you buckle your seatbelts when everything just goes completely off the rails. I know you've discussed it before, and it's kind of been the topic consuming the release of this film, but like, do you have anything to say to people who are like boycotting this film or refusing to watch it due to its inclusion of AI? I know it's a tough topic.
No, oh, it's not a tough topic. It's an important conversation. People should be talking about this stuff. 2.5 years ago, when we went to make this movie, it was a very different reality we were living in. And I think that the knowledge and information and education that we've had about any use of AI in any form is become something that we should all be thinking about and talking about. And honestly, here's my thought. When somebody says, like, I can't see your film because it's got those frames that had art that was developed utilizing AI, I would say to them, if ever a decision that you're making, and in the like, the quiet, most still part of your heart is telling you to do something, I'm never going to tell somebody don't do that thing. Like, if somebody feels, like they shouldn't watch the film, then I totally support that. I think that's just, it's not my place to, kind of tell people what to do. I'm proud of the movie we made. I know how hard our design team worked, and how much even those images were taken further by the team. And but I think the brothers said it all better than I ever could. But I think it's an important conversation, and even though it sucks to have any negativity around something that you love or create, it still feels really good to know that you're part of being an impetus for people talking about something that really means something.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate that response, and it is an important conversation to have. Late Night with the Devil is in theaters now. It's going to be available on Shudder on April 19th. I highly recommend this one. It's a tight, magnetic, refreshing horror film. One final quick question for you, David. If The Tonight Show comes knocking and says, hey, David, The Tonight Show starring David Dastmalchian, what do you think? Would you live this life for real?
And I think about my energy and how hard it would be every single night to have to do what those guys do. I would be like, thank you so much. Let me come be a guest whenever I can, but I don't think I could do it, man. I mean, that is a freaking marathon. That is wild. But yeah, I'm glad that you think that I'd be decent enough to do something like that. That's crazy, man.
Well, I appreciate it so much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Love that shirt you're wearing, by the way. Appreciate the interview. Late Night with the Devil. Go check it out. Highly recommend it. Have a great rest of your day, David.
You're awesome, dude. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.